Since these guys were our first guinea pigs, so that you guys start to get comfortable with it, I'm going to be providing you guys feedback myself on different things, and then you're going to have, like I said, you will get the student feedback. So all of you by now, which you haven't done, should have this tab uploaded. Upload your detailed plan here. So you need to go in and upload your plan. You don't need to do it now, Bryce, but get your plans for everybody's activity. So Bryce is next on deck, and who's after Bryce? Cordell. Who's after Cordell? Sean. Who's after Ashan? Okay, Carson. And I'll try to look at you too, Rayleigh, if you want to jump in. I'm going to get a full list. So who's after Carson? All right, Jalen. Who's after Jalen? Jake. Who's after Jake? Gabe. Who's after Gabe? Or is that everybody now, at least in here right now? And then Rayleigh. Yes, you are number 10. All right, so basically I need Bryce and Cordell ready to go tomorrow. So you guys would be next. So, and I might, depending on the content of what we're doing in class, I might not do 2 presentations, I might do 1. And then that way, if Bryce is sick or something like Rayleigh was today, then Cordell, you'd be up. So you just always be ready. We always have 2 people ready to present. And it may just be one of you, it may not be, depending on the circumstances for the class. Okay, any questions about the creativity exercise for those of you who haven't gone, or those of you who have gone for that matter? All right, it is kind of fun to draw on this later. So let's see, so one thing from Bobby's presentation, I'm only going to give these comments now a little bit. Like I said, I'm going a little easier on the first people who presented. And maybe some of you gave Bobby some ideas too. But I thought one thing that came to mind for me for creativity is like to give me an exception to your always, right? So you, instead of you took the whole time to go through that. When is it might be, Bryce brought up speed. I think I put this in my comments to you. Always follow the speed limit or never break the speed limit, whatever. The always never can always be, that's an exercise we're going to do later in the class that you can always rephrase an always as a never. But breaking the speed limit. Give me an exception to that where you shouldn't always follow the speed limit. Bobby. Okay. Well, why? Give me an exception of why you would do it. Give me a story. Tell me a story about somebody who probably should be breaking the speed limit, but they're not because they're following this dumb rule.
Like my dad gets off work and I 35 and gets a call from my mom saying, "Oh my gosh, Jake's not breathing at home."
Yeah.
He needs to get rushed to the hospital. We don't have another vehicle.
Now, do you see how that kind of created us? Now, we could tell 100 of those stories, right? Of kind of using our brains to say, oh, okay, well, that was kind of a cool framework. So I saw, like, it could have almost been in 2 phases and maybe not do all 5 of the ones you did, but maybe now break into small groups or something and do kind of a, when would this one be? And you could have done this on the jump, like picking out the speed one. Let's everybody tell a story of, breaking the speed one. So something like that. And that just came to me, off the top. Again, you guys might have had other things that you brought to Bobby's attention on ways to improve it, but that's kind of the fun thing that we'll do to try to keep pushing ourselves. So, any questions or comments? Nice job, you 2 for starters. So that's good. We got them under our belt. Let's see. We've got our list, so we got that done. Everybody gets this uploaded here. If you have not emailed me, remember the first step was for you to email me, because if now somebody says, I want to do an always never, I'm like, sorry, Bobby, I already did it, right? Or maybe the exercise is too close to another exercise, so that's going to be my call on. And I might tell you, oh, as long as if you kind of change it up and do a little bit differently because somebody else is doing something similar, right? So it's first come, first serve. I think I've responded to everybody who's emailed me so far, but if I haven't, I didn't respond to yours, Jim?
Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Okay, talk to me afterwards. So I'll try to get those turned around to you so that we get you to uploading your detailed plan. And then as you make that plan, now that you saw what these guys did too, I'm asking for a detailed timeline, but then you might also think of, well, what if it doesn't take 10 minutes to do this part? And it's like, oh my God, that went amazingly fast. It only took 2 minutes. Now what's my alternative, right? Or what am I gonna do to kind of add on to this or have a little extra thing? These are all part of the planning process so that you can keep your timer going, and it's like, oh, no big deal. That took 2 minutes. I thought it was going to take 10 minutes. Now I do this, right? And having that, some sort of plan for those alternatives is a good thing to do going into your exercise. Okay. So here we go. We talked about this last time. What was going on with this picture? And I think you guys were kind of doing some of this too with your, and this is what's fun. Now that we start to get into the content, I like having you guys have done some of your projects and we can kind of talk about some of the concepts that are the, more textbooky stuff. So what was going on here with this picture? Bobby?
Wasn't it the Diverge was like giving a bunch of ideas and simplifying it down?
Yeah, kind of narrowing it down. And so what this is illustrating, we use this diamond that we'll see throughout the thought process, is that if we don't spend enough time diverging, we might start coming to solutions too soon, and we stick within this area of familiarity. And so then we don't get as creative as we could be if we short circuit the thinking process. So if we start, you guys came up with an idea for an app or something. If we short circuit that too quickly, we might kind of stay in this area without coming up with something, real cool. We might have overlooked something by not taking Cordell's comments, having enough time of diverging about the alcohol app or whatever. We might have come up with another variation or another alternative, another nuance to it or whatever. So you want to spend enough time in divergent thinking before you start trying to draw into solutions. And so this may not apply for your creativity exercise, but in general, that's the idea that we're going to do as we kind of go through thing after thing in here. Okay, questions or comments there? All right, so here was our thing. Oh, and I want to return those papers to you. In fact, I'm just going to let you guys pass them around. This was just kind of one of our attendance points, basically, from last time. So why don't you find your paper and just pass it along. This has the things that you guys listed, so you can keep it in your notes of divergent and convergent thinking. I know we've had a big spring break since then that you probably have forgotten about all that. So we wrote all these down. Fluency, flexibility, elaboration, originality. So we want a large number of responses, right? We're not shutting any ideas down. So when Bobby was doing his exercise, I don't think you ever shut somebody down, which was good, right? Even if you're like, oh, that's kind of a questionable one or whatever, you still wrote it down. And maybe some people were joking, right? Not necessarily trying to derail Bobby, but they might have been kind of, I'll just throw this one out for fun, right? I think you guys got a few giggles out of it. That's okay. In this divergent thinking, you just roll with that. You say, oh, come on, get serious. You don't, like if Bobby would have said, oh, come on, get serious with it. Well, you're shutting down that idea, right? So we're not doing that in this step with the divergent thinking. And then the convergent thinking was still working with what we have on the table, possibly strengthening what's there, maybe even taking that silly or funny comment or something and seeing if you can even add on to it. It's like, I know you were just joking, but maybe there was something here. You see what I'm saying? So that was that affirmative way of approaching your thing. So we're prioritizing, screening, sorting, different techniques. One of the things we'll do later is like with Bobby's exercise, when you're doing lists, if we had those written on Post-it notes and we had a list of 10 things, we could say, let's come up with some, which ones of these are kind of similar to each other, like following the rules with the speed limit or something. So maybe following rules was one grouping, whereas looking both ways isn't a law, right? It's just something that would be good for health and safety. So maybe we have a health and safety category, and we actually will move those ideas around. Or if you have a computer with an Excel app or something, you know, you could kind of move and categorize. So that's what we mean by this here of sorting, screening, prioritizing. Within the health and safety category, we might have, well, this one's really the top one, and then this one, and then this one. So we might prioritize the order of the ones that we thought were the most relevant. Okay, so here's our model again that we're going to be spending individual chapters on ultimately. First, we assess the data, try to gather as much information as possible, and then clarification, explore the vision, formulate challenges to that vision. So this might be longer term thinking. And then transformation, exploring ideas on how we can transform things and formulate solutions. And then implementation, explore acceptance. Who are we trying to sell this product to? Do we have to get administrators on board with this? Do I have to try to convince the city of Ottawa that this would be a good direction to move the city with the addition of some new city park or something, with skateboard park or whatever? So we're going to kind of diverge on exploring acceptance, converge on exploring acceptance, and then formulating a plan. So with all of these, we're kind of doing the same motions, and we work around the model. All right, so that's kind of where I left you off with prior to spring break. So today, I want you to pull out a piece of paper. We're going to do more paperwork. And this PowerPoint was one of theirs. I hate that you can't read it very good. Okay, so what I want you to do is write down these steps, these are the things that are going around the wheel that I just mentioned. So it's assessing the situation, that was in the middle, assessing the situation. I could try to make this either, I could try to change the font color, but that sounds like too much work right now. So assessing the situation, and then put this definition: to describe and identify relevant data and to determine the next process step. You don't have to put this thinking skill down, just I want the step and the purpose. And the next one is exploring the vision. Let's see if I can't, yeah, that's not good. Exploring the vision. And the purpose of exploring the vision is to develop a vision of a desired outcome. The third one is formulating the challenges. And that reads, to identify the gaps that must be closed to achieve the desired outcome.
What was the third one?
Formulating the challenges. To identify the gaps that must be closed to achieve the desired outcome. And then if you want, you can go ahead and there's going to be a short, thing like this after each one, but go ahead and write these down. Exploring ideas without putting the purpose. Formulating solutions. Exploring acceptance. Formulating a plan. Exploring ideas. Let me see if this little stupid pen works here. Exploring, oops. Ah! Nope, it doesn't. Let me try this again. Ah, it doesn't work with the PowerPoint.
Might help you just hit the lights. Yeah.
exploring ideas, formulating solutions, exploring acceptance, formulating a plan. Okay, so back to the top here, assessing the situation, gathering that data. The author says to use diagnostic thinking. What comes to mind with the word diagnostic? What's that?
Science.
Science, okay, good. Anybody else? Diagnostic? Sounds like the doctor maybe poking around or something, or running a test, metering it, right? So it's a certain type of thinking that we want to put on or use in doing that. What about visionary thinking? How would that differ from diagnostic thinking? I want you to contrast these two. Who gave me my diagnostic? That was you, Bobby? Give me a number between 3 and 8.
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jake.
So we're just all right.
So visionary, like what do you imagine? There's no wrong answers really here, because the step is exploring the vision. We're going to use visionary thinking. What the heck is the author talking about? And you might kind of think about how that might compare with diagnostic thinking. It's just a way.
I would say that like versus diagnostic thinking, so data and stuff, like you said, a doctor.
Okay.
Doing that. Visionary would be like seeing something.
Yeah, you're doing okay.
I'm like seeing something and then go to diagnosis. You know what I mean?
Okay. So with visionary thinking, are we thinking long-term or short-term? Long-term. Which one needs more imagination? Visionary or diagnostic? Visionary, right? So diagnostic thinking is very much, here's the facts, here's my meter reader, right? Here's my measuring stick, here's how much money, whatever. You're kind of computing. You're like a computer assembling the facts. Whereas here, you're thinking more imagination. What does the world look like today? What do I want it to look like tomorrow? And then when there's challenges, now we'll end with this one, formulating the challenges to identify the gaps that must be closed. So strategic thinking, what comes in mind? That's my vision, but now I'm going to have to think strategically. What comes to mind with that? Let me go somebody else here. Yeah? What else? Yeah. Okay. What your execution might be. So like when you guys have a strategy for your sport, you're playing a team's coming up. What goes into strategic thinking with a particular team? Think of your toughest competitor this season. What goes into strategic thinking? Watch a lot of film. Who do I need to guard, right? We might need to change our plan because of who's in front of us. If we're talking basketball, since we're in March Madness now, they've got a couple bigs that are 6'10", right? How are we going to do that? Whereas another team that's still a really good team, they've just got some awesome guards and they're just lightning fast going around, right? Your preparation, your strategy is going to depend on the challenge that's in front of you. You have a vision that you want to be national champions. Now, what's going to keep us from being a national champion? All right, we'll call it there today.